What up, watch peeps? I ran into a modding problem that I come across every once in a while, and I'm sure a few of you have had this problem as well. But it's where the hands hit the underside of the crystal on your mod. The second hand, being the one on top, will get stuck on the crystal and it'll intermittently stop your watch. You'll look at it and it'll be hours behind. You'll wonder what happened. Normally that's what's going on. That's the issue I ran into here, and I had a really crazy idea on how I could get around this problem. So I'm going to explain that to you in the video when we flip the camera around. Let's get to it. I'm Pete and we are Chillin' with Watches. Alright guys, wrist check. I'm wearing my Sumo. This is the steel bezel mod. I got this watch kind of just to check out the Sumo, but it ended up being one of my favorite watches. I love the way it wears. I love the case. That green's kind of hard to capture on camera. It's way more green in person, but super cool. So let me explain to you guys the problem I'm having here with this build. You guys might remember a while back I showed you this Seikos Explorer mod I was doing. Well, I'm using an NH38 movement in this because it's what I had on hand. But let me show you. That is basically an NH35 or 36 with the date mechanism removed. It's meant for an open heart watch, but it has no date mechanism. So as a result of no date mechanism on top, look how tall that hands post is. It is much taller than a normal 35 or 36. And what's happening is, I believe that seconds hand is hitting the underside of the crystal in this case. And then it's dragging or just stopping if it doesn't have enough power. So that's my issue. So what's my plan? Well, I could just get an NH35 or 36, but that's too easy. I came up with a way more out of the box idea. I got myself a couple gaskets that are about 28.5 millimeter outside diameter. That matches the outside diameter of the dial. And my plan is to put them in this case, or put one of them in this case, so it sits on, this is the ledge where the dial normally would sit. If I put a gasket on top of this ledge first, then drop the dial, and it should push the whole dial toward the back of the case and give me an extra millimeter clearance away from the crystal, I think. One of these I got is like a 0.6 millimeter gasket, super thin. I think I'm going to skip those. I'm going to go for these 1 millimeter gaskets and see if I can get that to work. So off cam, I'm going to try and set that on the ledge and I will come back and show you that. Alright, so here's how that gasket looks sitting on the ledge. Let's see if you can see it right in there. And now my dial, instead of sitting directly on the ledge, will sit on this gasket. And as I said, be further away from the crystal. The problem I'm having with doing it this way is, as soon as I turn this over to drop it down on top of the movement, my gasket's just falling out. I've also tried putting the gasket on top of the dial and then laying the case down around it. But the problem is the gasket, without something forcing it to be perfectly round, doesn't want to stay perfectly round. It's not quite staying in place on the dial. So when I lay it in there, it's kind of half on, half off the dial. So my plan is I'm going to try and stretch this out a little bit so it fits more snugly inside of that case up against the walls, and then maybe it will have enough tension that it stays in while I flip it over. So let me give that a whirl. Alright, now I've got that in there. After I stretched it out, I think you can see here, I can turn it over and it will not fall out. There's enough tension between the sidewall inside the case and the gasket now that it's larger. It's holding it in place. Think if you've ever tried to put a new gasket inside of a bezel, how it sometimes seems like it's too big for the bezel and you gotta kind of working to get that last little bit in there. This was kind of like that, but now it stays in place. So I think I should be able to drop it over this movement like so and get the desired effect I'm hoping to achieve. So let me give that a try and we'll check back. Alright, I think this has worked. I think it has achieved the desired effect here. Let me see if I can show it to you. I don't know if you can tell, but can you see there's just a little bit of extra space between the rehaut and the dial. Now the gasket's black just like the dial, so it just kind of blends in. It's really hard to tell, but it just gives me that little bit of extra height that I needed to keep that seconds hand off the crystal. And it does appear to be running freely now. Doesn't look like it's having any issues. So pretty cool solution to a pretty common problem. Sometimes you just got to kind of think outside the box and do something crazy. Slapped one on the bracelet to give you guys a quick wrist shot before I take off. But yeah, as you can see, it seems to be running good. I'll keep an eye on it over the next couple days and make sure it doesn't seem like it's slowing down or intermittently stopping or not. But I think we did it. So there you go, guys. I managed to save my Seiko Explorer build with what I think is a pretty cool solution. All right, a couple things I know you guys are going to ask. This is a 40mm Explorer case and bracelet set I bought on eBay for like 50 bucks. Has a sapphire crystal, glide lock clasp, and everything. Pretty cool. The other thing is, once you put that gasket on top of the dial, you will no longer need the movement spacer in the backside of the case because you've taken up that space with the gasket. All right, hopefully that will help somebody somewhere. It was a cool solution. It worked out for me. Before I let you go, sneaker check. I'm wearing my Vans old school today. And that's it. I'm out. If it's not too much trouble, like, subscribe, and come back next time. Peace.